Hello, chocolatiers. We're out of the gaming room and we are on the casting couch. So grab a drink and come along for the ride. So, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League surprised me in a good way. At DC Fandom in 2020, we were given our first look at the game. Now, at that time as a DC fan, I was pretty excited, if I'm not lying, right? Think about it. It was a 4-player co-op game where you could play as a Suicide Squad, especially freshly off the heels of the movies. Even though the first movie wasn't the greatest, the second movie was awesome, right? And being able to play as Boomerang, Deadshot, King Shark, Harley Quinn, like that shit sounded fun, especially playing with the boys, right? But what doesn't sound cooler than that, right? A little Elseworld story made by Rocksteady of all people. Rocksteady making all the Arkham games outside of Origins, okay? Which is arguably the best one. I love that one so much. Considering that we will never get a Superman game, this seemed like the best bet. Until the stories went up. One random morning, young little Carson woke up by a Sky Brevid. I was in the middle of that, didn't get to finish because Twitter was blowing up and I saw an uproar. This game was in the Arkhamverse and people were pissed off. Now, I don't know if at the time of the announcement that it happened, but I just remember one random day, I think it was months later, apparently it was very clear to everybody. Everybody's pissed, especially with the way that Arkham Knight ended, which was understandable. So, it was also revealed this game was going to have like a battle pass type bullshit like Fortnite and microtransactions, and it was going to be a live service game. It also seemed like it was going to be the end of Rocksteady because this game had been in development for what seemed like 7 years, and it seemed like Rocksteady had been making this around a time when live service games were blowing up, such as Fortnite, such as PUBG. You know, they were working on Anthem and stuff like that, and Avengers, which also failed. The only ones that are really still kicking is Fortnite. They're the one I can think of, I guess Warzone. And so, it's crazy, right? So, you know how people on the internet do, right? They judge a book by its cover without even playing the shit. So, I'm a skeptic, okay? I was sitting over there thinking, hey, maybe it'll surprise me, and it did. So without further ado, I present to you how the Suicide Squad game surprised me.
You know what I've been doing for the last 2.5 months for money? Huh? I've been fucking.
Story ain't that bad. The world is being taken over by Brainiac, and the Justice League have been corrupted. Now with all hope lost, the Suicide Squad, being King Shark, Deadshot, Boomerang, and Harley Quinn, led by Amanda Waller, have to save humanity. The premise of this story is pretty good, like premise-wise. From the performances, to the character models, to the overall idea of taking over these high-level gods with these run-of-the-mill villains is a very cool idea, in my opinion. Like, I really think that's a cool idea. And so, I don't have a problem with the story, okay? Well, about 80% of the story. We'll get there. Now, the next part.
What are you saying?
I'm saying this house you live in, the mortgage that's being paid, the food on the table, all financed by my dick.
The game has your standard live service open world. Go here, guard this point, or shoot this dot. The game never gives you any variety when it comes to missions. Missions are a big letdown. Bosses are the same way. Boss battles are boiled down to find an opening and shoot the enemy, and that's it. With some bosses requiring you to shoot something else before you do this, but overall not really changing the game at all. The characters thrown into the world were also a letdown. Remember the Penguin and Poison Ivy from the Arkham games? Oh yeah, they're just kind of there. They're boring old NPCs that sell you stuff in a store. This world's bland and boring with everything feeling the same, and overall that's a pretty huge letdown.
I take a little hit every now and again to keep myself rock hard.
Gameplay's good, but it's only good to an extent. Not once during a 9-ish hour campaign did I feel that the gameplay was boring or stale. Each time I thought I was having fun with the flashy combos and moves. That's because despite what other reviewers might tell you, there's a lot of enemy variety. You get Speed Force enemies, snipers, brutes, etc. And even though, yeah, those are like your run-of-the-mill like enemies or whatever, I don't ever hear that from Spider-Man. You know, like Spider-Man 2, you got symbiote enemies, and then you just have regular human enemies, and that's it. But never once did I ever hear a complaint in that game. Like, there's complaints from that game to have, but I never heard anybody say, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, you know, this and that, and complaining about the enemy types. This game is like a weird thing, because I remember when the Speed Force enemies showed up, like around hour like 5 or 6, like they're super speed running snipers. Like, that's a pretty cool enemy variety to have, right? And so back on topic, there aren't anything special, but depending on your playstyle, the game looks and feels really flashy and fun. However, that's for certain characters. Characters like King Shark and Boomerang are very fun to play as because they feel overpowered. And I chose to go with Deadshot, and I believe I made a good choice because his jetpack traversal felt the best to me. But at the end of the day, all you are doing is shooting. You have snipers, pistols, miniguns, and shotguns, and it's kind of weird that this game is a looter shooter in the sense that you play as these characters, because if Harley Quinn has a gun, I'll give you that. Deadshot, clearly. But why does King Shark need a gun? He's a fucking shark. Doesn't make any sense. I get the little hook thing. That's cool. That's a cool weapon. But like Boomerang, he's known for using boomerangs, and he's like, let me like have a 12 gauge. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so at the end of the day, like I said, all you're doing is shooting, right? Now, before I get into spoilers in the in-game and live service content and more of the story, I want to give the game a final verdict for those of you that don't want spoilers. Which I will say, story-wise, I do think it's wise to not get any spoilers, but some people don't give a shit. So, before I get into that, I just want to say overall, with the lackluster bosses, mission design, lazy encounters, and even lazier weapons, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is getting a 5 out of 10 for me. And that's only because at the end of the day, I believe the gameplay and 70 to 80% of the story is pretty good. Like, I do believe the gameplay still holds up. Even after hour 9, I believe it's still good. I believe most of the story is good, but the last 20-30% for me is where it falls. But it's not one of those ones where it's like, okay, like, I really just hate I really just love the beginning of this game or movie or whatever, and I really just think it's really good, but then at the end it's like, oh, I really like the ending though, like, it's like 8 out of 10. No, this is like, the ending is so bad because the game's actually unfinished. And I'll just leave it at that. If you want to stay, the final part arrives.
Look, I'll pick the kids up from school.
So if you're still here, I just want to get into all this bullshit. So at the end of the game, once you kill all the Justice League members, it's up to the squad to defeat Brainiac. But the game kind of stops the momentum to basically give you a walkthrough of how all the future Fortnite-esque seasons will play out, which is that's a choice for sure. So you find out in a mission that the multiverse exists, okay? And then at the end of the game, you find out that there are 13 Brainiacs, and thank God you don't have to kill 13, but it's just one. So before you do that, the game halts you to do 3 Brainiac missions to get a resource that allows you to complete the final mission. This is where the game really gets stupid, because the mission starts, you realize that it's a no return mode where you get 30 minutes to go in and out. So kind of like Destiny, like those like little no return modes, like for a boss, it's like that. So after defeating Brainiac, you get a note that says, see you next month. No shit. The story's not even over. So I get it's live service, but I just feel like you do so much in the story that it should have at least wrapped it up, and the live service part should come as like kind of like a DLC, kind of like what's it called? What's that Marvel game came out last year I love so much? Clearly I didn't love it enough. I forgot. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen. But basically, that game has a great story, but then at the end of it, once you beat it, they kind of set it up for something else, but the story itself is over. So the other stuff is DLC. Midnight Suns, I remember it. So the final boss is also weird because he turns into the Flash. Brainiac just turns to the Flash, so it's the Flash boss fight, which if you don't know, the Flash is the first boss that you do in this game, and he's the easiest boss. So it was not even hard. Then we get to the in-game content, meaning that the story won't be over until you do 12 more seasons, because each season is going to be a Brainiac and a new character. So next month we're getting the Joker, which is going to be a Brainiac and then him, right? So if they finish it, which is a problem because of this being live service, this game could end after 4 or 5 seasons and they just be like, damn, fuck it. And so we might not even ever get into this game, which is stupid. So it's the biggest joke I've ever seen. This game disrespects its players, okay? I get doing the Brainiac thing and multiverse stuff, but give the game everyone that paid $70 to $100 for an ending. And with that rant, I will catch you guys on the next one. Damn.